Bring the meeting to order. Invocation and pledge of allegiance, Councilman Charlie Blaylock.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we come together tonight, please grant us the wisdom and the patience to make the decisions that are most beneficial to our town and its residents. And let us be thankful for every day we are given. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Our first order of business is presentation, end of season beach ambassador report, Skip Cox.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Manager, and Town Council. Just want to take a few minutes to give you an end-of-season report for the 2021, and believe it or not, our 8th Beach Ambassador season. First, as you may know, we got a late start again this year due to COVID-19. We were not able to begin beach patrols until Memorial Day weekend. We began the season with 26 trained ambassadors and finished with 24 who were still active. 14 were returning from last year and 12 were new. Together, they logged 346 individual patrols and 600 volunteer hours. This was quite an improvement over last year's 323 hours, which was even shorter a season than this season. We officially concluded on Friday, September the 10th. I'm pleased to report that our visitors and residents demonstrated very good behavior on our beach this season. There were no unusual encounters, no major issues. We still dealt with abandoned holes and plenty of glass containers, but we remain committed to dealing with each of these as we encounter them. With regard to glass, our approach again this year was to ask people to make sure that all glass be taken back from where it came and that it not find a home in our beach access recycle containers. According to the reports I received and the many hours of the beach that I covered this season, there was a reduction in beach litter, which is really great. When you consider how busy our beach was this year, it was really great to see a reduction in litter. Also, I was initially very concerned about dune violations and dune destruction west of Middleton due to the temporary direct beach access allowance. And yes, there were plenty of man-made beach accesses through the dunes and many portable mats and post and rope crossovers over the dunes. But I must admit that I was pleased that most of what I feared did not come to pass. Finally, loose dogs are always an annoyance on our beach, but especially when violators say they are residents, they know the rules, but they're not going to leash their dog. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do about that. Once again, we were very appreciative of seeing the police on the beach in their ATVs. They were visible most days and weekends. We're thankful for their presence, and there's always a good response to them from our ambassadors as well as the beach public. There is one item that I am concerned about and that I feel needs to be addressed. It is what I and others on the beach have reported to me, perceived to be the unlawful use of golf carts on the beach. During the season, and particularly between 58th East and 79th East, I observed golf carts on the beach that did not seem to be properly identified per the Oak Island Ordinance 28-6. This was quite obvious during the Labor Day week and holiday. Since beach ambassadors have no legal authority, we are trained not to approach golf carts, assuming that any golf cart on the beach is legal with the proper identifying credentials. However, the carts that I observed did not appear to have such credentials. Perhaps this can be addressed during the off-season so that those in authority can monitor and correct any violations of the ordinance. Finally, while I'm very proud of all of our beach ambassadors, I would like to recognize 2 veteran ambassadors and 2 new ones for their performance this season. Don Klutz, one of our veterans, made 30 individual beach patrols and logged 62 volunteer hours, which is over 10% of our total of 600. The other veteran is Linda Zaccaro, who was assigned to perhaps the most difficult patrol section we have, which is the point and at the end of Kings Lynn. The 2 new ambassadors, Ernie and Cindy Oppenheimer, together conducted 34 beach patrols and logged 57 volunteer hours on a very busy patrol section on the East End. I was particularly pleased this year with the performance of these 4 individuals. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Skip Cox, and all the Oak Island Beach ambassadors. Thank you. Next item of business, Planning Board presentation, Chairman Darrell Royal.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I bring you greetings from the Planning Board. Since there were no public hearings for items with recommendations from the Planning Board on your agenda in September or October and might not be in November, it appears to be a good time to review, 1, the items that have come to you from the Planning Board since September 2020, 2, the items the Planning Board is working on to bring forward to you, and 3, the items the board identified to schedule for consideration in coming months. Let me say up front that planning board members come to meetings prepared, pay attention to detail, ask relevant questions, provide thoughtful feedback, engage in candid discussion while respecting each other's viewpoints, and appreciate the guidance of a knowledgeable and dedicated town staff, which includes our town planner, development services director, and town clerk. In other words, we have a good working relationship that is directed towards a common endeavor to provide town council with quality recommendations for managing growth and development that are consistent with the goals, objectives, and implementing actions of the comprehensive land use plan. Items that have come to town council from planning board since September 2020. And note that town council approved the planning board recommendations on the following items with only 1 exception and a few relatively minor tweaks or additions to text amendments as presented. There were 2 zoning requests denied for changing commercial property to residential multifamily. Several zoning requests approved related to the Cape Fear Regional Jetport property to allow for additional commercial opportunities. Text amendments approved for planning board roles and duties, Appendix B of the NC State Fire Code, on-street commercial parking and driveway regulations, food trucks and itinerant merchants, brew pub parking and regulations, flood ordinance duplication, and eliminating adjustments, alternatives, compliance, and convenience and necessity options for our performance standards for subdivision, building facade, and driveways. Of course, the 2 most extensive amendments were those that needed to be done to bring us into compliance with the new North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 160D, Local Planning and Development Regulation, and a comprehensive revision of Chapter 32, our tree ordinance. Text amendments to the table of uses included adding dog groomer and heating and air conditioning installation repair in the commercial business district, various uses in the airport district and CLD to coincide with the rezoning request for the airport property, and condominium mixed use in the 3 commercial districts, which were precipitated by a text amendment to the table of uses to delete the RMU and CMU, that's residential mixed use and commercial mixed use, special use zoning districts that are prohibited now by the new North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 160D. Secondly, items Planning Board is working on to bring forward to Town Council. A previous application for citizen-initiated text amendment for accessory structure in front yard was withdrawn and a modified application will be on the October Planning Board meeting agenda. In September, Planning Board began working on potential modifications to the building facade performance standards, including reductions in the 35% transparency requirement with distinctions between primary and side streets, application by district rather than use, thresholds for existing structure modification by percent tax or appraised value rather than square footage, and provisions to address facade color. Based on feedback from the Planning Board discussion, town staff will bring back additional language for consideration during our October meeting, along with a drone video of our commercial districts on East Oak Island Drive to assist with developing reasonable standards. Also in September, the Planning Board began working on potential ordinance language to incorporate conditional zoning procedures into the Unified Development Ordinance. Conditional zoning is a tool that utilizes site-specific standards and conditions to regulate future development based on a legislative rezoning process that allows any and all public comments to be considered by the Planning Board and Town Council. This is in stark contrast to the quasi-judicial special use process that allows only testimony from individuals with standing that meet the requirements of substantial, competent, and material evidence to be considered by Town Council. And unlike general district rezoning, you know exactly what you're getting. Based on feedback from Planning Board discussion, town staff will bring back additional language for consideration during our October meeting next week. Please understand that you might not see one or more of these items appear as public hearings on your council meeting agenda until December. Finally, items the Planning Board has identified to schedule for consideration in the coming months. One is an ordinance audit. This is a line item review of the Unified Development Ordinance to identify conflicts, inconsistencies, gaps, ambiguous language, etc., with a holistic approach to produce a report of items that need to be addressed for the Planning Board and Town Council to prioritize. The Cape Fear Council of Governments conduct ordinance audits for local governments. And secondly, the 2017 Comprehensive Land Use Plan update. Need to update the community profile and existing conditions to reflect the most recent census data and the residential and commercial development that has occurred over the past 5 years. Revise the future land use sectors to reflect the elimination of the RMU and CMU, and review the progress made and priorities set for the implementing actions. Again, the Cape Fear Council of Government conducts land use plan updates for local governments. And it is our hope that Council will approve contracting with them to help us in those regards. Let me say that it is an honor, a privilege, and a joy for me to serve as Planning Board Chair with such a great group of people in a very exciting time in our town's history. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and all the members of the Planning Board. Next on our agenda, recognition, Police Chief Speedy Ingram. I'm gonna call on David Kelly.
Let me go get him.
Yep.
Coming.
Well, hello, y'all. Usually a crying time.
You gonna say a few words?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got time?
I got time. I'd like to say a few words too.
Okay.
Just a few of them.
You want to go first? Or?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to say what an honor it is to be up here with the chief. And the chief came back to us after already retiring one time. And he came back and kind of got everything back on a level playing field. And he did a great job. And you know, it's sad. We're going to miss him, but he'll be around. And I want to tell you something about Speedy that not many people know. And here it is. Speedy is one of the most generous men that I have ever met, because he was generous enough not only to have COVID, but to share it with myself and Councilman Blaylock. And I want to thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. I wish I'd have gave you more.
No,
I don't.
You gave us plenty,
No, I
pal. And it's, like I said, he's going to be missed, and we thank you. Thank you
you.
very much for all you've done, sir.
Thank you.
Can I get a turn?
Sure.
I'd be scared of that.
Somebody asked me, they said, can you tell some stories about Speedy? And as I went through the thousands of stories I had after taking out the language and the things that happened, I was left with nothing. So, seriously though.
You through?
Yeah. Seriously though, Speedy is the kind of guy you can go and talk to about anything. And those are few and far between. He's willing to share with you his wisdom and his experience. And I've been a police officer for 40 years, and he's the best.
Thank you.
You gonna say something now?
I got a lot to say.
I gotta go. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye. As you can tell, I might give out of breath, but I'm going to try to get through this. I want to thank the mayor and the council, town manager and the town attorney, all the department heads in the town, and all the town employees for all the prayers you've given me and my family. Thank you. Now, I'll give you a short story if I can get through this breathing. January, I got COVID. Went to the hospital. Went in and talked to a lady, put me in the emergency room. They shut the door, opened my eyes, and I thought I'd gone out of space. People in there with all these shields and mess on. I didn't know where I was. I remember the woman saying, I'm gonna put you in a room. I do not remember nothing till the end of March when I woke up in a hospital in Greensboro. I left Greensboro, went to Autumn Care in Charlotte in May. The best thing ever happened. They had the best PT physical therapy program I ever been to. They got me out and I was home June the 30th. My wife and daughter stood by me every minute. And thank you, Pat. And now, before I tell you why I'm really here, I'm not on the locals. I'm not on Facebook, and never have been. Number one, I was a police chief. I didn't want to read it because I'd get mad and respond and get in trouble. So I'm telling you, for locals and Facebook is a crock of baloney, and what people post on there, you should not put anything unless it's true. You put in there I was dead. People were calling my house, wanting to talk to my wife and my daughter. I know Speedy been dead. Well, I wasn't dead. I'm here tonight. You should be ashamed of yourself posting stuff you don't know what you're talking about for any matter. It's fake news, any way you put it. Now, the reason I'm here tonight is to announce my retirement December the 1st. I spoke to Mr. Kelly. That's what I've decided to do. I do not want to, but as you can tell, I got a bad lung, and it could be a year before it heals up, and I'm going to get out of the way and hope other people have a chance to move forward in the department. My sincerely thank is to town manager, all the town employees, and all the citizens that have prayed so much for me and my family. And thank you so much for everything. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Here comes my little redhead girl.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Everybody.
you.
Mr. Box?
We're gonna take,
Yeah, they were gonna deliver.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Take you back for you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Where's
15 minutes. Bring the meeting back to order. Adjustment, approval of the agenda. Mr. David Kelly, was there something you wanted to say at this point?
Yes, sir. I'd like to remove the consideration of making drawn position full-time off the agenda to discuss at a later time. And also, we will not need a closed session tonight, item number 7.
So that's, Mayor, that's 6.2 under new business and item 7, closed session. Mr. Kelly saying we need to remove from tonight's agenda.
You say, Mr. E, you say also remove closed session?
Yeah, I don't believe we need one tonight,
All
Mayor.
right.
So we would need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended by removing those 2 items.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda or approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? 7-4. Thank you. All right, we're ready for the public comment part of the section. Lisa?
Yes, sir. Randy Johnson?
Hi, I'm Randy Johnson, 704 West Dolphin Drive on Oak Island. I was also recently on the ad hoc committee for sand nourishment. As a result of that experience, I've often been reminded that things are different in North Carolina, and if that doesn't work, things are different on Oak Island. It's true, I'm not originally from Oak Island or even North Carolina. I grew up in Virginia, just across the border. I've been called a country boy, a redneck, and not quite housebroke. One of my aunts used to say that we didn't know we were poor until somebody told us so. One of my childhood memories that stands out was going to the courthouse and waiting in line with my dad for a small block of cheese that the federal government was handing out. For the first time, I was able to take a cheese sandwich to school instead of ketchup and mayonnaise. But getting back to Oak Island and the problem of sand, the argument doesn't seem to be over the value of an engineered beach, but how we can get someone else to pay for it. Brunswick County, North Carolina State, non-resident property owners, the federal government. To be honest, I relocated to Oak Island because of the beach, as did most of us. I say most because one thing I learned about being on the committee is as soon as you say most, someone else will say that's not always true, that perhaps someone came for the rust, the sand, the water bugs, the mosquitoes, but I think most of us came for the beach. As it is unlikely that anyone read the committee's report, I thought I'd quote a few statistics. Oak Island has a tax rate in excess of $3.3 billion. That's billion. Seems that Oak Island is one of the wealthiest areas in North Carolina. There are approximately 12,500 lots on Oak Island. An equal assessment to construct an engineered beach would amount to $800 per year per lot for a total of $10 million for the next 4 years. Of course, we can simply accept what FEMA offers each time we have a storm. As our mayors pointed out, we recently spent $15 million, mostly state and federal funds for the east end, and plan to spend some $18 million on the west end, also mostly state and federal funds. Although Councilman Bach has pointed out that the town will be responsible for some of that, about $6 million as I recall, with all of that being paid by visitors through the accommodation tax. Not counting the emergency dunes created after Hurricane Isaias, we've spent well over $30 million on sand in about a year. but funding those projects has mostly spared residents. The renourishment is not as likely to hold up as well as a re-engineered beach, but if it washes away during the next storm, FEMA will put it back, so there's little cost to residents. Going back to my story of growing up in Virginia, I remember the next time the federal government was giving out cheese, I asked my dad when we'd be
Right, that's
returning
3
to the
minutes.
courthouse.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Anyway, I still don't like ketchup, so.
Harry McCullough.
I'm Carrie McCullough, 108 Northeast 57th Street. I'm here tonight to object to the proposal to invest $300,000 to build a public skate park. While certainly skateboarding is an exciting sport with growing enthusiasm, according to proponents, actually the growth rate of skateboarding has been very cyclical since 2004, and with only 2 to 3% growth projected over the next 5 years by the industry itself. Based on statistics from the Public Skateboard Development Guide's own park adoption model developed by the industry and using our town demographic, this park would only theoretically serve 3% of our population, and to narrow that fully, again by the guide's own model, core or regular skaters make up only 28% of those. This equates to 75 Oak Island residents by their formula. Looking at our population, specifically by 2019 census data, 80% of our population is adult, 30% of those are considered senior, and only 10% of our population are under age 24, which is the average age range of core skaters of 18 to 24. So again, using the industry model for park adoption against our population, that would mean this park would serve 25 residents on a regular basis. To factor for visitors during tourist season, even the increase in population during the summer, we're still only talking a few hundred skaters for a few months out of the year. I also object to paving more of Oak Island and creating even more stormwater management challenges in an existing property with good vegetation now. And as I understand it, the build of this park will cover existing wetlands, which serve a critical purpose in stormwater mitigation with an immense amount of concrete. And the aesthetic of the bowls and jumps can be envisioned sort of like the surface of the moon, requiring its own drainage systems and continued maintenance by town staff. Finally, the potential liability for the town. The state law designed to protect municipalities from liability due to injury at these facilities has not been deemed to be fully protective. Has not been deemed to be fully protective, even with safety policies and warning signages. So again, with full respect and value to all of our citizens and what they bring to our community, I challenge this project with the following question. Does it make financial sense to invest $300,000 in a project serving a small percentage of 9% of our population and only $70,000 in the current budget spent on rec facilities that regularly serve the majority of us? Participants in the rec center programs and activities regularly exceed the estimated participation in the skate park by the industry's own park adoption model. How do we let the skate park skate over maintaining existing facilities? This cannot be approved, guys, just because it's a feel-good youth project. Mayor and council, this is about setting priorities and serving the citizens of Oak Island with recreational amenities that serve the majority first. In a small community such as ours, every resident is important, but our tax dollars should be prioritized to first serve the majority of the residents' recreation needs. When funds are available to provide this park, it moves up on the list of priorities, and it is built by using committed private funding with industry standard 45% public funds matching. I offer that we pump the brakes on this project and plan to shore up existing rec facilities that serve the many before building new ones for the few. Thank you.
Lisa.
Cheryl Cook.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Cook. I live at 4803 East Yacht Drive. I'm the treasurer of the Beach Preservation Society, and I'm glad to be here to let you know the new things that are going on with the Beach Preservation Society. And we did want to, even though Skip has left, thank Skip and the beach ambassadors for how they represent the town and the Beach Preservation Society. I wanted to invite everybody to our next free public webinar. It will be a Zoom meeting due to the COVID restrictions, and it is October 27th at 7 p.m. This seminar is going to be based on Getting to Know Your Local Estuaries by Andy Wood. He will focus on the Kings Lynn Estuary, where the beach preservation will soon provide new educational displays. The next thing I'd like to talk about is we have our annual meeting as required by our bylaws, and that will be on November 9th. It will also be a Zoom meeting. Members have been notified how to register, but if you still like to come, you can register at beachoki.org. And finally, tomorrow at 9 a.m., we will be represented at St. James Nonprofit Fair, and we'll be sharing information with volunteer opportunities to serve on the beach with us. So if anybody else would like to volunteer for some service work with us, please get involved and email us at oakislandbpsi@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Lavezzo.
I'm Mike Lavezzo, 3304 West Beach Drive. I just wanted to bring up a couple of months ago, we had a presentation about stormwater management, about the group that did the work on Caswell. Great job for Caswell. They're limited in where they can put that system. I hope that the money we're spending to do more research looks into what we already have as opposed to putting more infrastructure under dunes south of Ocean Drive or Beach Drive. It seems like that's a pretty silly way to spend our money, putting pumps near the ocean. I want to thank Scott. Last meeting, it was brought up about excess of water on the west end. I spoke to him. One of our awesome town employees went down there 2 weeks ago in the heavy rain. About an hour later, half of that intersection was empty because he found the drain that we already have that got washed over during the storm. He cleaned it out. He cleared half of our problem. We need to be spending that money to look at what we have, what needs to be repaired before we go buying new. Thank you.
Mayor, that's all I had sign up.
All right, thank you. Council reports, mayor and council. I'm gonna start left to right.
It was moving to see Chief Ingram return, and I pray that he achieves a full recovery. And in a related spirit, I continue to be moved by the amount of charitable action taken by various groups and in many cases individuals who are helping people who are still struggling with the pandemic. And that, I think, is a distinctive feature of our culture, and it's something we don't talk about enough. There are a lot of volunteers, a lot of charitable groups, a lot of individuals who are going above and beyond. And I won't name names, but it inspires me to be part of this community.
I'd just like to say thank you to Skip and his beach ambassador volunteers for the many hours of volunteer service to our town. Also to our planning board and other various boards that are also volunteer positions. Also, it was great seeing Speedy. I am saddened that he is retiring, but very glad to see him standing up there speaking to us.
Mayor, the only thing I have is to remind everybody of the pickleball tournament on the 23rd and 24th. If anybody would like to join that tournament, they're welcome to. And if anybody would like to volunteer to help, we would certainly like to have that too. And anybody in the room, you see Gina right back here. Raise your hand, Gina. Come on, there you go. She's wearing the boots, and you can pick her out, so. Thank you.
For the night's mayor report, I'd like to take an opportunity to dispel some of the bad information, rumors, innuendo, just plain lies been going around town regarding our, end quote, unprecedented sand assessment. I don't care, they innuendo on what all the town council has done. First of all, if you live in zone 1, or zone 2, or zone 3, or zone 4, there has been no assessment set. The only thing the town council has done, basically, is a map. They did decide assessments, they gotta look into it. In March, we discussed how we're raising funds for our proposed master plan renourishment project. We talked about the options, one that should have done an assessment in the future, and how we would do it. There were originally 4 alternates and 2 were put forward. The first option was there would be 2 assessment zones and an additional town-wide tax. The second option was 4 assessment zones with some sort of equal distribution of assessments. No financial numbers or percentage numbers were placed on these zones, and nothing, I repeat, nothing, was approved except for the direction that the town staff should take. The motion that passed was to direct town staff to move forward with alternate 2 on 4 assessment zones because most of the council was reluctant to add taxes to the town property owners. Now I want to correct some misunderstanding on how we determine the zones, and for that I'm going to give you a short history lesson. In July 1999, Long Beach and Yopon combined to become the town of Oak Island. That September, Hurricane Floyd struck the region, and there was massive damage to the beach. A number of houses fell into the ocean, and our beaches were closed for months due to cleanup and recovery efforts. It was determined that Oak Island would need to renourish our beach. In 2001, 20 years ago, the town voted to assess property owners to help fund the beach nourishment project. I can hear you thinking, wait, what? Oak Island had a sand assessment before, and we had an assessment zones before? Yes, in 2001, Oak Island voted to assess owners in 4 different zones based on the square footage of their lot. The assessment money wasn't huge, and some second row owners paid $400 a lot, while Wooded section paid about $50 a lot, and that was with government assistance. Okay, so come back to the present. In March, the town was directed to move forward and determine how many lots they were, what was the combined partials, etc. So that's what we did. At the April meeting, there was a map with 4 zones discussed with the number of lots and the new information the town had. Where did the map come from, you ask? Well, remember the 4 zones from 2001? That's basically the same map, the best we can determine. It's a bit bigger now due to how much Oak Island has grown on the mainland, but generally speaking, it is the same 4 zones. The council voted unanimously to go with these 4 zones. Again, for those of you in the back, no assessment was approved or even voted on. So now we have an approved map with 4 zones, but we still don't know how we're going to get the $40 million up front to begin an engineered beach. It was presented and approved that before we even begin the task of trying to assess our owners, we would have a committee made up of citizens to find money that we hadn't thought of. The ad hoc committee was to focus on a few critical areas of the beach renourishment planning. They will conduct analysis of the Carter Group funding proposal, review successful strategies deployed by neighboring coastal communities, and seek to identify potential external funding sources and/or partnerships to offset the costs of the town's beach renourishment plan. In undertaking these tasks, the committee was to look to fund $40 million. That's the current cost, the master plan for renourishment. $40 million, not $137 million, not $200, not even $72. The cost of the master plan for beach sand renourishment is $40 million. If we had to assess residents, that's what we would be looking for, 40 million. Any number bigger than that is not and was not in the scope of the ad hoc committee, nor is it accurate. Is there additional money needed eventually for maintenance of an engineered beach? Yes, absolutely. Is that part of the potential assessment? No, absolutely not. The engineered beach is estimated to cost 40 million if we begin soon. That's what we have to fund at this point in time if we want an engineered beach. Is there additional 32 million required for beach maintenance in 6 years? I don't know. Nobody else does because we don't have any idea how things will change in a few years. Maybe sand will cost less, maybe it'll cost more. Maybe Oak Island will become a federal beach and no have to longer pay for maintenance. Maybe the sea will change directions, bring us sand rather than taking sand away. And in my 24 years here, I've seen that one season where we actually accumulated. I have no idea, and neither does anybody else. If we do need 32 million for beach renourishment, we do have our sand tax, our accommodation tax, and maybe other funding. By then, that the maintenance cost is no part of the 40 million and would never be part of the assessment. If you heard anything above $40 million, that's wrong. It's not true. Now, here's all that I know to be true. I know the beach is ongoing investment for the town and its citizens. The beach is one of the greatest parts of our economic development for our town, and we cannot ignore protecting it. Beach renourishment and ongoing maintenance is part of the cost of living in paradise. So now let me tell you what else we have. We have an ongoing beach nourishment from the sand tax, accommodation tax, that brings in 4.2 million. By the study with Moffitt and Nichols, if you do the math, they're coming up to $5.3 million a year. So we're within $1 million now of continuing on with our accommodation tax and our nickel sand tax. We are also potentially have and are anticipating getting 20 million from the state maybe to offset the cost of our master plan. In my 5-year plan, we only needed a portion of the funds to complete our master plan, and all the money we will need come from these sources and not so much from the sand assessment. These are the facts about sand assessment. Don't let anyone tell you different. If you have questions, please ask town council or staff. We will be happy to share what we know. Just getting the facts back in order. I've heard that 137 million and all that a bunch of times. There's no truth in it. Mr. Blaylock.
Yes, I've been in law enforcement for 40 years, so I have a little prejudice, as you would say, towards the chief. He's a great guy, like I said before, and he is still the chief of police. Someone questioned whether we had a chief of police. Yes, we do. Now, in a situation where the chief retires, we have a staff over there of officers that have years of experience. And for those of you who've never been in a situation like that, that's what the chain of command is about. And it can take care of itself perfectly. And we'll take our time with Mr. David Kelly here, and we will find us another police chief. But you can be sure that there's no reduction in service or protection associated with the situation that's going on right now. I'm sorry, but that really hit a sore spot with me. Let's not forget this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that there'll be Par 3 is going to have their usual tournament over there. Also working with the Chamber of Commerce to promote that tournament. Put that together the other day. spoke with the VFW about having the veterans involved in but the VFW is so busy with veterans operations, so to speak, or ceremonies and so forth. So we decided to discuss it, maybe having a veterans tournament in the spring. I will leave you with one thought as far as on my way to here today, I went under the bridge, the new bridge, and what I saw was, guess what? Skateboarders, 5 of them, bicycles, and there was about 2 or 3 of those. There is a need. Thank you.
All right, next order of business, consent agenda, approval of minutes September the 14th. Do I have a motion?
You want to pull that off?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Everybody? Thank you. Administrative reports, Mr. David Kelly.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Tonight we have 3 new employees that are going to come up and introduce themselves. First, we have Brian from the Finance Department. He is working with Mr. Hatton, and we'd like to welcome him aboard.
Honorable Mayor, Council, Town Clerk, Attorney, and Clerk.
You're good.
Thank you for inviting me to the town and allowing me to help staff, especially David Haddon. He's a great guy to work for and work with. I come from Alexandria, Virginia. I was born there, raised. My family and I vacation here most summers. My wife's been coming here since it was Long Beach in the 80s. So we have a little bit of a history with the town. We enjoy it very much. It's a great place. I hope to participate and make it I don't know better, but keep it where it is at least, because it is a very great place to live. I'm in flux at the moment between Virginia and North Carolina. I have a 15-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter and a wife of 20 years, so getting them all down here is a little bit challenging with logistics, but we're getting down here. Thank you.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Then we have Heather, our new rec director.
Good evening. Thank you. I am Heather, as Mr. Kelly said, from the city of Raleigh. And we very similarly have vacationed here every summer since my 17-year-old was 3, so a long time. He actually rode his first skateboard on the skate park. And we also have a 3-year-old who ate his first sand on the beach. So lots of firsts happening. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for all the things happening, the renovations to the rec center, the skate park, and the programs. It's kind of, a few people have said, oh, you're from the city of Raleigh, so, you're coming from the big city. But quite honestly, sometimes it's just hard to get anything done, and there's more programs that I've seen in the last 4 weeks than they've been doing in Raleigh for the last year. So very excited to be a part of it. And thank you.
Can you tell them a little bit about Spooktacular?
Yes, thank you. So this year, Spooktacular is going to be a little bit different than it has in the past. We're going to go ahead and use live and local. So from 4 to 6, there's going to be vendors, and kids can come, stop by, get treats, and there'll be some carnival games. And then from 6 to 8, while the band's going on, the Oak Island Police Department and Fire Department are going to be doing trunk or treat. And there's going to be a truck out there. And we have confirmed that the church across the street we're not competing. So actually, you can come out and have 2 nights. So.
Isn't there some kind of dance or something?
Yes. Are you volunteering right now to be
No,
part
ma'am.
of it? I don't know.
I've seen him
I
dance,
tried, I
Heather.
tried. There's a flash mob. It's a Fancy Like is a song that's on a lot of social media, locations right now, and there's a dance that goes with it. And if you would like to join us, please practice on your own, or you can come and practice with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4. And you don't even have to sign up. You can just come do it. So if you change your mind, there'll be a spot.
If you can get him to do Fancy Like, I want it videoed.
No promises, but I'm going to try. I've got a few weeks. Thank you.
Welcome
Oh,
aboard.
yeah, yes. And now we have Mark, who is the new Planning and Zoning Administrator. Step up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. My name is Mark Bloomer, and as he said, I'm the new Planning and Zoning Administrator. I came from the Charleston, South Carolina area. I was the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the town of Ravenel for approximately 13 years. And I kind of feel like I left one amazing place to come to a different amazing place. You know, it's beautiful here, and I definitely look forward to serving the town, the residents for many, many years, and walking on the beach in my free time. And I think it's a great place. You know, I'm looking forward to the opportunities and the challenges. And I really thank council and the staff and the residents for giving me this great opportunity to come to your beautiful community. And I plan to do a great job and go above and beyond to try to keep this amazing place amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome aboard.
Forward.
We have Scott here tonight to go over some stormwater and some public work activities that are going on.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to do a few quick updates on what we've got going on within Public Works, different sections of it. Our stormwater department especially has been under a lot of work recently with all the rains. The past month, we completed 74 work orders. Now, we also gained 23, so we're still heading in the right direction. Now, within those 74 work orders, it includes about just under 4,500 linear feet of ditch work that we did. We cleaned and jet rodded about 1,000 linear feet of pipe. Also includes a lot of structure repairs, pipe replacements and repairs. We've got a lot of sections of galvanized pipe that's aged out and we've had to repair. Also working with WK Dixon to get the first phase moving on the Ocean Drive. But those guys, they stay really busy, do a lot of work. That's certainly by far not everything they've done, but that's kind of the highlights of it. Also, our paving is underway. The next contract, they're only about 15% into it right now. The rains held them up a good bit. Lost about almost 2 weeks of work that they could have been doing. And if anybody's interested on what's to be paved, it's on the town website. Just go under Public Works, Street Department. It's all listed right there, every street that we're doing. Also, update on the walkways. 20th is open and done to include the floating dock now. Ramp repaired, floating docks there, so all of that. 9th is open, still waiting on the lights to be installed. I think they've received them, but they have not been put up yet. The 10th West Handicap Gazebo is complete and open back up to the public. Have a Moby map there also. And speaking of Moby maps, we have 5 out. They are at 74th East, the Pier, 25th East, 10th West, and 57th West. Now, we also have 8 more on order. So if the public has any suggestions on where they would like to see them placed, you can feel free to email the website, and we'll take those into account. And other than that, one report I do like to say, solid waste for yard debris, all pickups are on schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we have something that we're going to start doing, a quarterly report for our finances. And we have the legendary Mr. Hatton here tonight.
Legendary.
Well, you've heard from the new employees, now you have to hear the old finance director, old in more ways than one. What I normally do, as you may recall, I tried to do comparisons on a quarterly basis. I take the budget for the annual budget and I take it, what it would look like quarterly, compare the actuals to that, and I have a handout there for council. The first item we're going to talk about is ad valorem taxes. I've had a bad thing happen in my department. I lost my tax collector after 17 years. So we had a hiccup in that department. We are still collecting the taxes and pretty much the same as we've done in prior years. It reflects a little bit lower than what it has been in the last year compared to September 30th, 2020. But the money has gone to the bank. It's just not been booked. And by this time, probably, this is the end of September, it's probably been booked and caught up with now. But we've got a very good person down there now, a new tax collector she came over from Developmental Services, and I think she's going to be real good. She's picking up quite a bit of the items, but again, to lose somebody after 17 years of doing the job, and it was tough, really was, I admit it. But I'm looking forward because I think it's going to be better, a whole lot better. All right, local option sales tax. You know, in the summertime we go, oh God, the tourists are here. But we put up with them, and one of the reasons we put up with them are collections of sales tax for the first 3 months of this year is $806,437 compared to same period last year, $628,000, or an increase of $177,000, which is not bad. Utility revenues, they're pretty strong still. They're about what I want to see from this time of year. Comparable to last year, there's not much difference whatsoever. You know, a little bit in revenue on water is 100 and some thousand. Sewer revenue is up 44,000 in the same period. Stormwater, as you may recall, we did work on stormwater, I think 3 years ago to try to get that department up and going and reorganized. And our revenues are staying strong on that. We're up 4,000, which is good. The one I'm really happy with, solid waste. We've talked about the issues in solid waste for years. And I'm happy to say for the first 3 months, it's $62,000 in revenue over what it was. We did a heck of a lot of work, Mr. Kelly and I, in cooperation with council, how we restructured how services were given to us by Green for Life, and how we build the services out, try to make it more equitable across the town. So it's paying off, so I'm real happy with that. Accommodations tax, which we've heard over and over and heard earlier tonight. For the first 3 months, this is the 3% part. For the first 3 months, it's $1,299,000 compared to $937,213. Again, the tourist. That's an increase of $362,000, which will go, again, the 3% is designated for tourism, but I can take some of that money to the beach 2%. With the beach 2%, it's $866,000 for the first 3 months compared to $625,000 for the same period, or an increase of $241,393. Again, good news. Beach nourishment, the ad valorem 0.05% that the mayor spoke of, it's up $60,883. Again, that goes straight for beach nourishment, beach maintenance, so that's good. And real good, I'm sorry about my voice, the OKI Pier revenue. It is at first 3 months of the year, the pier and passes, merchandise, and rental is $172,603. And as you know, we've had some bad days where they didn't make a lot of activity on that pier. So great job from Lisa. And 801 rental. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm almost finished. Here's a real good one. This time last year, for the first 3 months of the year, there was rental of $2,170. This year, it's $15,784. We've got an increase in pier revenue for this period of $30,488, which again is, I think, very strong. And when speaking with Lisa, she's got, I think, 21 or 22 weddings already booked on the books as of today. So that is my quarterly report. Question? Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that's all my report for today, sir.
Mr. Brian East, do you have anything?
Just an update that will indirectly benefit the town. You may be aware there was a national opioid lawsuit brought by several states and larger cities, including the state of North Carolina. There's a potential settlement of $22.7 billion over time. North Carolina is slated to get 750 million, give or take of that. It will go, most of that money will go directly to the counties. There are 16 cities that will get direct payments. Oak Island's not one of them. It's the larger cities such as Charlotte and Raleigh. But given the damage the opioid crisis has caused, I think it's a good thing that that lawsuit's being settled. And even though we're not getting it directly, the money, as the county gets it, must be earmarked to rehab, education, things of that nature. So I'll keep you posted as that progresses. It's tentative right now. It's kind of an opt-in thing. The opt-in period ends January 1, 2022, but it looks like those numbers are going to be the total settlement and the amount that over time North Carolina will get. That's all I have.
Thank you. Old business, consideration of the bond order authorizing the insurance issuance of special obligation bonds. Mr. David Kelly on the FEMA grant project.
Yes, sir. If we have any questions, Mr. Hatton can come back up and drink a little more water and explain any of this if we need. But this is basically the same thing we did for phase one. We're repeating the process. The Carter Group is on board with us. We had some of the meeting, or some of this was last meeting, and this is just a continuation and basically the paperwork to have the bonds be sold.
All right, thank you. We basically need two motions.
Yes, sir.
For this.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask a question of council, please, for a minute.
Yes, sir.
And I'm on page 42 of the agenda, section 3. Section 3A, B, C, and then section 5. I wonder if you could translate what this language means, especially section 5 on page 43, where it says neither our full faith or credit or taxing power are going to be pledged to this. I take that to mean that this is an indemnification of the town against further liability that's structured in the bond agreement?
Yes, it's stating.
Am I reading that? Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, and that's standard?
Yes, sir.
Boilerplate?
Yes, sir.
As well as the 15 pages which follow, right?
Yes, sir. And I'll note, I've had experience in these, but these documents were prepared by and large by special bond counsel, and that's all they do. The bond counsel we have, I think, top in the state. We've used them historically, and to my knowledge, knock on wood, there's never been an issue.
Okay, so it limits our liability to the limit, $10 million limit, which is in the document, correct?
Right. I mean, it means that the bonds, we will not be required to raise taxes. We're not pledging our taxing power.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the first motion, Mr. Mayor. A motion to approve the bond order authorizing the issuance of special obligation bonds of the town of Oak Island, North Carolina, parens FEMA grant project, close parens.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Everybody, Lisa. Anybody like to make motion number 2?
Motion to adopt the resolution of the town council, the town of Oak Island, North Carolina, providing for the issuance of a special obligation bond, FEMA grant project series 2021B.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consideration of a resolution awarding retiring police chiefs?
No.
We done that.
No, you forgot the item number 2 under old business, sir. The consideration for the skate park.
You're skipping, you're under old go under, back under old business.
Item number 2.
Oh, gosh, it's marked out. Consideration request for the qualification of design of skate park, Mr. David Kelly.
Yes, sir. We've had Heather working on this. We actually presented a draft to the Park and Rec Advisory Board yesterday for some comments, and I'll let her go over the basics of the request.
Sure. So we are requesting design build firms to turn in their qualifications. Included in those qualifications, we're requesting preferably that they have, if they have projects in North Carolina, that they include those as well. And also, several places in the request we're asking that they are able to provide community interest meetings to get an idea of what the community wants. And then on the page 10 and 11, we have a proposed timeline laid out, and it's an aggressive timeline. We're going through this process. Here in October, we'd like to have a decision on the design build team made in November, and then in December, January is when they would have those public interest meetings. And depending on how many that they need to have, we would hope to start building January, February, where if everything were approved, and then have everything in phase 1 done by June. And the reason that we're hoping to be that aggressive is to be able to have use for the next season, during the next season.
It is pretty much a very aggressive schedule, but we believe we can work in the community involvement. We may have to have one special meeting in November to award the contract. But looking out there at the people that we believe that will be submitting their backgrounds and everything, we're already starting to review some of them that have contacted us prior. So we're able to look at some of those things. She has a meeting set up for the pre-bid, so they can come in and ask any questions. She has a date and time for those people. So I think it's a doable thing, but we are trying to get this project done this year. So we're asking just for y'all to give us the blessing to go ahead and send these out.
Any discussion?
Mayor, comment? Just I wanted to bring it to your attention on Article 11. It's the third to last page. There's some safeguards built into this request for qualifications. We reserve our rights to terminate this RFQ process at any time. We state that the RFQ does not commit the town to enter into a contract, and that's under Article 11, 2 and 3. And then on Article 11, Section 6, we again repeat that any cost or expense incurred by a respondent associated with the preparation of their submittal is their cost and shall not be borne, and shall be borne solely by them. So the town, say we cancel this, someone can't come to us and say, well, we've spent $2,000 preparing our response. I mean, we make it clear that putting this out, we can terminate it if we want to. We don't have to award a contract at all, and we can restart the process later if we decide it's not in the best interest of the town based on the responses to enter into a contract at that time. So stated unlawyerly, we're covered.
Kelly, are you having any sort of trouble finding firms that?
I don't believe we will.
You won't? Okay, good, thank you.
And the whole thing that we're doing is Heather sort of talked about, we're looking at someone to come in and look at the property that we have and lay out a phase projects for us for over the years. Skate park would be phase 1, shaded areas, restrooms, the bike trails or whatever we add in later. That would be something that we would already have drawings and stuff sort of laid out for us, so we could plan for the future instead of trying to come back later to see what we can fit on each little square inch of property. We'd already have a plan laid out for the growth of the town.
Any other questions?
I like proactive. I think that's the approach we should be taking, so we can see the full development of the property, at least in terms of a vision, and hopefully it's going to be, given the concern that was expressed earlier, it's going to be a multi-generational plot of land and recreation site at some point in the future.
Yes, sir.
That's the design, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion.
Thank you, Heather.
Mr. Blaylock.
You
Do we
like
need
to
a
make a
motion on this?
motion?
Your pleasure.
I'm too emotional. Where am I at?
Page 64.
I make a motion to direct staff to advertise the RFQ for design work for the skate park.
Do I have a second?
Thank you, Sheila. Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody. New business. Consideration of a resolution awarding to retiring Police Chief William L. Speedy Ingram. I'm gonna call on Councilman Scott and Councilman Blaylock. Would you like to read the resolution?
Of course. This is a housekeeping matter so that we can give the chief his badge and gun. North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 provides that retiring members of municipal law enforcement agencies may receive at that time of their retirement the badge worn or carried by them during their service with the municipality, and further provides that the governing body of the municipal law enforcement agency may, in its discretion, award a retiring member the service weapon of the retiring member. Chief Speedy Ingram has served in the Oak Island Police Department since stepping in as interim chief in October of 2018. Before being named chief, he also previously served as Oak Island's police chief from 2002 to 2004. It is resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Oak Island as follows. The town manager is hereby authorized in accordance with the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 to transfer to Wilborn L. Speedy Ingram the badge worn by him during his service with the Oak Island Police Department. His service weapon, a Smith & Wesson M&P serial number TT60369, adopted this 12th day of October 2021, signed by mayor and attested to by our town clerk.
Anything you would like to say?
I think I've said it all. I mean, Speedy, you can just go on forever. He'll always, to me, he'll always be chief. That's how I refer to him, and that's where he'll always be in my heart. Thank you.
You need a second, Mr. Mayor? I'll second.
Do we make a, I thought anything you wanted to say? Yes, need a motion in a second.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution awarding to retiring Police Chief William L. Wilburn L. Speedy Ingram his badge and service weapon as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Everybody. Next item of business, consideration of adoption of new town logo and associated town logo and seal usage guide. Mike Emery.
Yes, sir. Mike's gonna come on out here and we're gonna get to see him on this side.
Yeah,
instead of
on this
behind that
side.
curtain. Hey, Mike.
The wizard.
Good evening. Pretty much everything that lays this out was in your packet included already, but I'm certainly willing to, and here to answer any questions you may have. The general purpose of this, though, is to establish an officially recognized logo for the town that would stand separate and apart from our town seal and allow us to have the marketable uses of a logo and the benefits it provides in that respect, and kind of preserve our seal for more legislative and legal purposes. So that way we can have a more appropriate way to brand ourselves, as it were, for public events and things like that. The usage guide kind of lays out in clear detail how we expect our logo and our seal
to be presented when it's used by partner agencies or other entities. It also clearly defines who can and cannot use our logo and our seal, and for what purposes they're used for, and how we want them displayed as far as the color, sizing, and orientation of those. So it's pretty standard fare for when you're a fairly prominent public entity like we are. But if you have any questions, I'm certainly here to answer those.
Not a question, but I think, as I read this, the iterations of the logo that are possible are considerable.
Yes.
You offer, I think, 6, but they're all subject to approval by the town manager, is that correct?
Yes, so as you'll see from the way it's laid out, there is a standard town logo, but each department can have a slightly personalized variation of that will apply to each department. And also some of the non-departmental agencies like the PAR 3 or others like that can have variations of that as well. But they are all of the same design spirit, as it were, of the town logo. And all will go through approval with the town manager.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Trees to see.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that Mr. Kelly didn't get the turtle that he wanted, but he did a great job.
Palm tree. Brian said you didn't get your palm tree either.
Yeah. Anyway, there's no discussion. Anybody like to make a motion? Page 69.
Page 69.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor. I think we've located it. I make a motion to adopt the town logo as presented, to adopt the logo and seal usage guide, and to approve a public awareness campaign to educate and familiarize the public with the new logo.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Everybody, Lisa. Next thing is consideration of staff recommendation to transition website to a .gov domain.
I don't know why he took off. I was gonna say, you gonna put that next?
We lost him somewhere last.
Oh.
He was practicing his fancy dance.
Monitor updated in advance of the slide. Kind of a housekeeping matter similar to with the logo. This is something that I suggested to the town manager, and he agreed to let me bring this before you all. But the town currently has a website that is a .com. If you're not familiar with the World Wide Web and the internet, and as they say, .com is usually for business type websites. .gov are website domains and URLs that are reserved specifically for municipalities. My suggestion is that we request to the federal government the right to use a .gov domain, which would be naturally oakislandnc.gov. That would help distinguish us from similar sounding .coms. You're probably aware there are some enterprising individuals and businesses that they capitalize on places of note by buying up domains that sound similar and take advantage of people's confusion who will stumble upon their website thinking they're trying to find someone else. The .gov will allow us to help kind of stand apart in the World Wide Web as a verified government agency. Now, we would not do away with the .com we have. We would keep that and turn that into a redirect to the .gov domain. But this is just the first step in that process, authorizing a letter to be signed by the mayor requesting that we be given the rights to the oakislandnc.gov domain. And from there, we can develop it with our current website host, Granicus, to shift that over to that.
Yes.
No, I think that's
All right.
well
Anybody like to
articulated.
make a motion?
I make a motion, Mayor, to approve transitioning to a .gov domain and to direct staff to do the following. Send the proposed letter requesting the .gov domain work with Granicus to transfer to the new .gov domain and to initiate a public awareness campaign once the transition has been made.
All in favor, for everybody? Consideration, thank you, Mike. Consideration of staff recommendation, consideration of lease for golf course maintenance equipment, that's you, David Kelly.
Yes, sir. We came through the budgetary process. This is basically, would be the lease option for us to take on this equipment and trade in the equipment that we currently have. I know the lease is sort of hard to read, but that's the way it came into us as well. And I believe Brian may have a question or two or a comment.
Hard to read is an understatement.
Come on.
I think it's like point type, but all joking aside, Mayor and Council, if there is a motion to approve, if you would make it subject to final review by town attorney, there's a few items I'd like to negotiate. For instance, they have a waiver of a jury trial. They state that although North Carolina law would govern any disputes, any court that would have jurisdiction would be an appropriate venue. I note that this bank is from Minnesota, and we do not want to have to arbitrate or litigate in Minnesota federal court. So if you would make any approval condition on town attorney final review.
Would anybody like a motion to approve this based on review by the town attorney?
For reference, it's on page 87. Well, it's on page 86, section 17, but that's modified in the addendum located on page 87, bottom of the page. That's what's called a forum selection clause. And the jury trial waiver is on page, excuse me.
Let's make a motion to approve the lease upon final review of the town attorney.
So I'll make that motion, that we approve the lease subject to the production of a readable lease and review by the town attorney. Because I don't know, I can't make heads or tails out of this. Is that sufficient, Brian?
Powerful reader glasses here, but.
Second.
All in favor? That looks like we got
A
that.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mayor
We
and
have
Council.
a second.
Indeed.
All in favor? Everybody, thank you.
All right, Mr. Kelly.